or?
All right, we're recording.
Okay, let's see. Bonnie Blandford, I did art fairs with my jewelry for 43 years, and I've run 3 different art fairs. I do a lot of mentoring and I do a lot of jurying, which I dearly love. But I wanted to say I'm during a show right now where they accept things that I would never give a decent score to in a normal jury. So it's important that let's see, as a juror, we are going by the show's instructions as far as what we let in. We don't have the freedom to pick and choose quite as much as people seem to think we do. I didn't get all that quite right, but I think you get the gist.
In other words, some shows let in things that other shows wouldn't.
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, Sharon.
Hi, I'm Sharon McAllister. I'm the founder of Art Fest Fort Myers. 25 years ago. Our anniversary was this year. I have retired from being the executive director, but I am working at the moment. I'm the board chairman, and I directed the 25 show. I was back for about 6 months, but I'm going to Europe shortly, and I'm done. And as that, I will just be the board chairman and happy to participate in things like this. And our new executive director is on this call so that he can watch. And I'm trying to show him all the things that have to do with jurying and artists and all that. He's got the event part down, but this whole artist thing is new. So
Okay, Camille.
Hi, I'm Camille Marchese. I'm the executive director of the Coconut Grove Arts Festival. Going into my 5th year here. Prior to that, I was with the Winter Park Sidewalk Art Festival for 24 years. So I'm a lot older than I look, although I look pretty old today.
You don't look that old.
No, you look pretty good.
Sweet talker, sweet talker.
I wish I didn't look that old. I wish I didn't feel that old.
But I'm going to echo what Bonnie said. I go to a lot of shows, and every show has their own criteria. It is the jury's place to select, but we select based on their criteria.
All right, Barry.
Me, Barry Bernstein. I've done art fairs for 40 years. I partially ran a gallery for 10 years. I taught as a grad assistant um, in clay for a while. I was I that's good.
Now, I did shows for 40 years before I stopped 9 years ago. So a lot of experience here. All right. How do we share? Okay, now how do we get rid of these?
This looks good to me.
Well, I'm seeing all four of us on the right-hand side.
right.
5.
Yeah.
They're on top for me.
Oh, 6 if you count Mabel. Just saying.
Well, I've got fiddle behind me.
I don't know why she's so lovey right now. You're not the cuddler.
Oh, here it is. Okay. This is the mock jury. April 15th, 2025. First presentation. Focus on structure. The photographs reveal lines, patterns, shapes, forms, rhymes, textures, hues of subjects, often in abstraction, to create order, balance, and harmony. Movement is often present intentionally or inherent in the subject, as in a sandstorm, reflection, wind, fog, or the play of light.
Artist statement is way too wordy.
Well, is it an artist statement or is it how I did this or
Well,
whatever the terminology is in the on the
yeah,
application?
Materials and techniques or
it's not
something.
Yeah.
materials and techniques.
This has nothing to do with materials and techniques. Wait a minute, let me read that again. No,
And she has two presentations.
Is her second statement different than this?
No,
No. So,
here's the second presentation.
Excuse me.
well, I think we go through this every time, right? Like it's just too wordy and it's just too wordy and it's not materials and techniques. But I was thinking about this the other day, like with photographers, I'm not quite sure what they would say,
Yeah, I know.
shot
Nobody
the
wants to
lamp,
know what
not-
camera and lens you used.
Mhm.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I might find that interesting. At least I knew that they knew what they were doing, but this is just, I guess we always say we don't really care why people do it, just how they do it, right? You know,
Yeah.
maybe not quite so black and white as that, but
yeah. No,
Maybe
I just applied to a show that actually on a separate line or group of lines asked for artist statement on
mhm,
top of how you did this.
yeah.
Well, the problem that I have with this, besides it being wordy, is you are taking my focus as a juror. You are taking my focus off the images and onto the words.
Hmm.
The words will not get you into the show. Your images will.
Right.
So do everything you can to keep my focus on your images.
Well put.
Mhm. Okay, here's another set of images.
So
I don't
then,
care for those.
so then to the point of that, back to the materials or the artist statement, it had its own issues on the other one about being too long and all that, but these images have nothing to do with that statement. At least the other ones had form and structure and shapes and whatever. This is landscape and two other things. Um, and talk about a difference in booth image.
Well, this is a newer booth, but it was done at an indoor show. This is
The
her old
newer,
booth.
the newer booth image, whether it's indoor or outdoor, is
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
100 times better.
Yeah,
Yeah, the booth image is better.
Without a doubt.
And I would hope that's what it would look like at the show. They're going to sell better with that kind of presentation, I would think.
Back
I
when
don't care.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I don't care for the second group of images at all.
No. I was going to say back years, 100 years ago, I was in advertising, and we always used to say white space was our friend, and because it really it pops it pops, and this booth shot is a clear example of that, right? Like not having any space around it makes you just look at it and go, I can't focus on one thing, So really, the white space is your friend,
Yeah.
negative space.
Yeah, we called it white space, but I get what yeah.
Yeah.
Negative is more appropriate. But
Okay.
Somebody asked about questions. Those will be at the end. So not to break up the continuity.
Okay.
So,
Backpacking. Okay.
wait a minute. Wait a
What?
minute.
What?
Go back.
I'm back. Go back where?
One more.
One more, yeah. I want to the first set of images.
The tree doesn't
Mhm.
have the same feeling as the other three.
yeah.
You know, if it
So,
was me, I would take the first two images here and then the last two on the other page. That's more cohesive to me than, you
Wow.
know, yeah, the tree doesn't fit.
no,
The third one's okay, but it's just, well, it's
Well, it fits the artist statement.
we're not
Mhm.
supposed to we're not supposed to comment on the work. But in terms of cohesiveness, I would do the first two here and the last two on the other one.
Interesting.
Personally, that's me personally, but
Yeah.
okay, I would use the last one here and exchange it for the tree. But I'd keep the
Mhm.
sand in because it's still the same movement thing.
Okay.
movement and texture.
Hmm.
Thank you.
All right. Backpacking the Sierra Nevada, my photographs are printed on metal canvas and matted Fuji paper.
So the former English teacher in me wants to comment on the grammar, but
Oh, go ahead.
well, they're two separate phrases, I mean, I backpack through the Sierra Nevada is it, but it doesn't backpacking it's grammatically incorrect, It's just
But
grammatically.
it's
But it's
fitting into the 100
character,
character slot.
but it's
I
not
know, but I mean,
materials and technique.
I backpacked, photographs taken in the Sierra Nevada, whatever, but it's just, it's not a sentence. Um,
It's clunky.
it's clunky, because backpacking the Sierra Nevada, my photographs are printed on metal canvas and matted Fuji paper. It doesn't, it, it, I forget the exact technical term, but it's not grammatically correct. And I would get hung up on that. Honestly, I would, because that's just who I am. So it should be like I would say, you know, photos taken backpacking through Sierra Nevada, if or if you even
Period.
say
You
that,
know,
you
I
know.
don't know if this applies, but of somebody who's very successful internationally in clay, won the Korean biennial, the top prize in clay in the world, and he said the same thing. He said, you don't write that you have to write what's correct grammar because it stands out and it might be repeated. So something that's
Mhm.
incorrect gets repeated publicly. It's not a good thing. So,
Well, it's just you want to use you don't want anything to distract your jurors from
right,
what they're really supposed to be looking at.
right.
And in my case, it's going to be weird grammar, right? Or, I mean, we all have our things, but that would distract me. I
Yeah.
also don't think you need to say that. I think you just need to say my photographs are
Yeah.
printed on
Printed out.
metal canvas.
Right.
Okay. What
Would you?
about the photographs? What about the images?
That
Well,
doesn't
I
bother
think
me.
the images are beautiful. I would put number 3, though, in the number 1 position because number 1 is much quieter and you kind of want to grab the jury.
Good point.
That and 1, 2, and 3 kind of go together. So if you put one out front or number 3 out front, then the three that kind of go together are together.
You
1
mean
and 2
2,
and
3,
4.
and 4.
I think the booth image is beautiful.
It is.
All
And I
right.
don't say that very often.
You don't.
Okay. I use palette knives, cake piping tools to plus cake piping tools to apply super thick amounts of acrylic on canvas in an extreme impasto style. Ink added on top highlights depth. And I think what you're looking at here is details on the right-hand side.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And there's a second presentation too.
So you don't think the three on the right are actually images?
They are.
No, I mean, but they're just detail of something?
No, the right-hand side of each image is a
Oh,
detail
oh,
dropped in.
I like the booth image.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
People are
the
listening.
booth is the same as on both.
Yeah.
Now here, number 4 is a detail image where you can really see the detail, and that's the full image in the upper right corner.
Yeah, I wouldn't do a split screen with a close-up on the right half, if that's what I'm seeing. And if it's not what I'm seeing,
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
being confused, which is not
It,
good.
it is. These are split screen.
Yeah,
I
that's
think I,
If, yeah, if the jury has to work too hard to figure out what they're looking at, it's a problem, you know?
yes,
so
I
are the
don't like
images, would the images, Larry, would the images be square if they didn't have this drop on the side?
No.
be a rectangle.
I'm just wondering if they crop
That's what
the
I'm saying.
image.
Well, here you can see 2 of the images are the same here, and they're verticals,
Mhm.
number 1 and 3.
I think, go
Yeah,
back to the other one.
yeah. I wouldn't do the split screen thing. I would just have
oh,
the pieces.
and there are times when a close-up will be very helpful and will be in your favor. Those are not it. But I will say,
You mean in this presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes, I will say though that this artist statement
Mhm.
I have absolutely no problem with.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's much stronger than the second statement.
Yes, I would use this set and drop the split, just put the verticals in.
Yeah.
Because I thought that the image was, the first one was actually a piece that was a vertical and two verticals
Like a
Mhm.
diptych,
to make a
Right.
square, right? Like that would be what I would buy, that square.
right?
Mhm.
And I like those, but not if that's not what it is.
I actually had this conversation with another director this morning about some work that just doesn't work well with Zaps. Well, Zap is an amazing platform. There's a lot, like it does no favor to sculptors, to lenticular work, to things like that, And one of the things we came up with last year for a couple of our artists, and not every show can do this, but because we do our first round is virtual and our people have time to look at things. I had a few of the artists actually put in like a video link to their work, where something like this, I would suggest that because you could see the up close, you could have a video of what it looks like. And if they had time to look at it, great. And if not, well, no harm, no foul. But at least you try to be able to show them what they're seeing in person. And I think that's particularly important with some sculptors and again with lenticular.
Hey, Camille, that leads to a question. What
Mhm.
if somebody sends a link to a video that didn't where you didn't ask for it?
Well, I mean, the thing is, if you stick the link in in your application somewhere, like in the artist statement, well, we look at it, we look at it. If we don't, we don't. I mean, it shouldn't, for me, I'm going to look at it while I'm checking the applications, but I can't speak for other shows. I can just speak for myself.
Mhm.
Um, and other shows may be annoyed with that, but to me, if it comes in the application, it doesn't hurt anything. You know, I
Mhm.
I think it's a flaw. It's one of the few flaws I find with Zap, but there is no way, and the jury system really is not that fair to sculptures because of how we have to look at things, right? I wouldn't say not fair, but you have a tougher time seeing something like that in a flat image on a screen. So
Okay,
just a suggestion.
yeah. Combine an artistic blend of copper foiled stained glass, agates, jewels, and wire into abstract art.
This makes me happy
Mhm.
because somebody is listening
Hmm.
to someone.
It's
As
nicely
far as
balanced.
Looks great.
exactly.
Mhm. It's clean.
Yep.
It's the way
The
I
booth
like it.
looks great. Yeah. It's a good artist statement. Very nicely done.
Nice balanced booth.
Good,
Oh,
clean.
yeah. Well, I know.
Okay. Sculptural creatures on salvaged bases made with palette knives and frosting tips with acrylic and found objects.
Frosting tip seems to be the thing.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Really?
And she
It's a
also
new
has two
discovery.
presentations.
Oh, okay.
What?
I have to say, for some reason, it does not bother me at all. But I would see if this person has another vertical
Mhm.
that they could use
Oh,
instead of the horizontal.
they have verticals here.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think I like this one better than the other one.
Yeah.
It pops a little bit better. I think it's balanced. It just is the booth image the same in both, Larry?
Mhm.
Now they're different.
That's what I thought.
I think the second booth image, although it's a little grainy or gray, I think gives a much better portrayal of what this artist does.
I'd agree with you, Sharon.
The first one leaves me kind of like, huh, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
but the second one is like, oh, I kind of get what's going on here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
some of the pieces look more three-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
And I like this artist statement, sculptural
Mhm.
creatures on salvage bases. I like the art. I like the second application.
Yeah.
This may be minor, but I don't like a bin in the middle of the booth, if that's what that is.
You know, I but if that's how they're going to show, then I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
You know,
I want to see it if that's how their booth is going to look at a
Yeah.
show.
I mean, liking it is different. I understand what you're saying, Barry. And you like the area to be clear. And I get that totally. But if they were going to be in my show and I would like to see I would like to see that.
That extra bin.
Hey, at least
Like
it's
to
not
see what you're
facing the
going to
front.
see at the show.
Hey, Larry, could you move the booth shot a little over?
Which way?
No, the other way, to the left.
No, it doesn't move to the left.
Okay, so all right, so I'll do this. Get rid of-
Okay. I am famous for my dislike of rugs.
Yes,
This
yes.
Yeah.
rug,
That's
this
not
rug
bad.
does not bother me.
Well, it's not
I have
distracting.
never said that before.
It's
That's
not,
because it isn't some pattern that you're looking at. It hurts your eyes. It's
Yeah.
it's pretty much plain.
yeah.
Okay, I want to say something, and it has nothing to do with this particular thing. We're judging the presentation. We're not judging in any of these images, any of these presentations, the quality of the work. We are just judging, and I think whoever's looking at this should keep that in mind.
Hmm.
Good
Okay.
point.
I think we all know that, right?
Yeah,
Well, we do.
We might have a new artist that doesn't know that.
That's right.
Yeah.
okay. I use acrylic paint on canvas layered with acrylic-based paint markers and textured mediums for dimensionality.
Beautiful, clean booth shot.
Yes.
Statement is dead on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the images are balanced up, right? There's two verticals and then two horizontals, but arranged nicely.
Yeah, I think those are both diptychs, the horizontals.
Yeah, they
I
appear
can't
to,
tell.
don't they?
Yeah.
I think it's a strong app.
Mhm.
Yes. I would agree.
Yeah.
Yep. Like this.
Oh, same artist.
Same
Oh,
artist.
and this is for Florida shows.
Could be. Or he lives in Florida.
Hmm.
Another nice grouping.
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah, yeah, you know exactly
Yep.
what's going on here. So
Okay. Sculpture from wood, hot glass, steel, copper, and cast iron combined.
Perfect.
yeah, perfect.
That is what I want in an artist statement on a
100%.
show application.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Images
the
are,
whole thing is right, what you want to see.
yeah. Images are strong. Booth shot is good.
Yeah, real good.
Yeah.
You know, this booth shot would not keep somebody out of a festival, I don't believe.
Now it's strong.
Yeah.
And then he started doing hanging sculpture
Oh,
pieces.
oh,
So I
No, I wouldn't do
created
that.
I created a second presentation and dropped one in.
I wouldn't put
no,
that in there.
No.
I
no.
think it's distracting.
But it's
Well,
okay.
I think it's distracting both because it's not like the rest, but it's also could give me a fleeting thought that there's some jewelry in here.
Bingo.
What?
Bingo. Yeah, because it does look like a medallion, right?
Mm-hmm.
It
And it's got
does.
a chain. I mean, maybe, right? I wouldn't do that.
And that
Interest.
cause you to think, and that takes your time away, and blah blah
Right.
blah. You know? Yeah.
Particularly if I think you're trying to get some jewelry in.
Mm-hmm.
The other one's great though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't put
Here's the-
anything in your images that makes the jurors question your work.
Right.
Bingo.
Because you want to be as nondescript as possible so
Yeah.
you can get to the images, the quality of the work itself. Nothing
Mhm.
distracting.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, that's right.
everybody agrees this is better.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. No.
What? Who?
No.
Okay. Specializing in jade, each piece is hand carved and polished.
By the artist or by
Yeah.
someone.
By
Now,
someone.
you assume it's by the artist.
Yeah, we have
Yes.
to assume it's by the artist, right?
The
That's-
round,
Yes.
the round beads, there's no reason for the artist to hand carve them and polish them when they're readily available commercially.
Yeah.
So it makes you question whether this could be buy sell, Bonnie. Is that?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
Absolutely.
thank you for pointing that out, Bonnie.
yeah.
You're welcome.
And I think
Now,
the booth shot, I mean, we can't see it large, I guess, but
Can we see it large?
yeah,
so if I wasn't thinking this is buy sell before, I am now.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know how hard it is to carve jade and how long it takes. And you can't have this many pieces unless you spent a long time doing that carving.
Well, oh, we don't have the prices, do we?
now,
We're also
That's-
not saying that the artist that submitted these is a buy sell artist.
No.
Thank you.
no.
That's right.
No.
We're saying that
This is
jurors
what-
could think that. So
Yes.
you want to rethink the images and how your booth shot looks, right?
Exactly.
That's
Very
true.
good
What we're
point.
saying. We're
Yes.
not saying, yeah.
Yes. That's right.
Right. Well, I think,
Okay.
and if one's looking at the booth shot,
Mm-hmm,
also from the point of view of strength in application,
mm-hmm.
the whole display could use some work, but certainly distracting is the tablecloths.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
they're so large and just by nature, they're going to
Mhm.
be that big. They really distract from that starting to look at the rest because they're wrinkled and semi-crooked and
Hmm.
okay, now
The
there's,
greenery, the
greenery.
greenery bugs.
well, doesn't belong there. There's a second presentation. What do you think of the white backgrounds on these?
Love it.
Doesn't bother me. As opposed to what? Oh,
Ooh.
that?
Yeah,
Well, that highlights them more. I would do this.
Yeah, I think this is a more stunning
Yes,
visual, you know?
I agree. I like
One
the
other thing
green.
artists could keep in mind on a white background like that is that depending on how the images are being viewed, um, that white is blinding
Mm-hmm.
versus this gradient is not blinding. It wouldn't be blinding projected or enlarged on a screen either. The white is.
Yeah.
This
and
is a,
go ahead,
sorry.
Bob. No, go ahead.
Well, this is a much better grouping.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, it is. And the booth shot is a better booth shot. While it's not perfect, it's still better than the other one because the other looked more craftish to me
Mhm.
than art,
Yeah.
because really you're generally going to have people not walk. I don't know that many jewelers that like people to walk into their booths, right? You know, so it's generally not going to really look like that at a show. Obviously, you'd have to take the branding off for an application, and I would say if you're going to have white tablecloths, at least in your booth shot, they should be impeccable. You know,
Larry,
uh,
can you bring the booth shot into the middle? I have to do that because,
yeah,
oh yeah, this is way better.
yeah.
Although I do have a problem generally with jewelers that put their tables, whatever, right up in the front, right
Mhm.
up to the edge, because generally you have people coming by and they're groups and they're standing there and they're blocking the next booth.
That's
If you
not a
move it in
tree.
2 feet, if now this I'm serious. If you move it in 2 feet, then it doesn't block,
I agree.
the flow.
Well, listen, I agree 100%. However,
Not
this is
relevant.
this is their application. It's
Right.
not, it's not it's not it's not our place to tell people how to behave at art festivals because Barry, you and I could teach a whole class on that. So,
That's right.
oh, a
That's
whole
right.
class.
I
Well,
think the booth shot, well, better than the other one. I think it could use some strategic cropping here
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, and get
Yes.
because it could be,
the mirrors
obviously needs a sign off of it, but
and the
it needs
mirrors.
to come in on the two sides and not kind of stuff in back of it and maybe cut off part of the peak so the whole thing can be just slightly larger.
And
yeah.
actually, we threw this in. I mean, I worked on these images. Um, and we threw in this. He had another booth picture. And the first booth picture is more what he's setting up now, but he's working on a new display for the future.
Excellent.
Yeah. But this one's better, like Camille said, you lose some of the craft look.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, watercolor, ink, and acrylic on canvas and on paper. Now, Camille, this is the artist you sent me.
I sent you two artists.
Well, this is the only one that actually applied.
Oh, okay.
Um,
And I know exactly where that was taken. I think, maybe. I don't know.
the problem is that all the pieces were photographed in the booth at a show, so you see reflection
Right.
of the different shades of the canopy.
hmm
Oh, is that what we're looking at in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to ask if these images have texture to their backgrounds.
Well, let me share with you that this is one of our graduate emerging artists. So, and she would like to do this as a career, and I suggested that she do the mock jury. It's one of the perks we offer our emerging artists is that
Mhm.
they can take advantage of Larry's mock jury trials, and so yeah, I think there might be some texture actually on the first one. But I think the others are shades from, but that's the thing, right? Like, part of this is learning. Your stuff needs to be photographed kind of professionally, or at least, you know, in a
Yeah.
better environment.
And
I
is this one of
I
these
will
booth shots that's shot to make it look like a tunnel?
I think this might have actually been at we do a group tent for my graduates. And, so we have 9 to 10 people in a 30 by 30. And so it's probably the best she could do as a booth shot, without setting it up on her own.
Mhm.
Hey, Camille, what do you think of the grammar on the
Yeah.
artist statement?
I think it's perfect. Well, I mean, it's
me
easy.
too.
Come on.
It's a quick, watercolor ink and acrylic on canvas and on paper. I mean, that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's not the other
Not a
one was
sentence.
two sentences trying to combine into one, and the word for that is just escaping me because it has been 40 years
Well,
since
run-on sentences.
yeah. No, that wasn't even a run-on sentence. It was an incomplete. It was, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
gonna think of it and I'm gonna email you, Barry. 'Cause I know
No,
there's-
I actually have you. It's like James Joyce's Ulysses. It's what was the term for that?
well,
Free
yeah.
association.
Yeah.
You
But
know.
Scattered.
this is exactly what we're asking, right? An artist statement should be what it is, and this is what it is. So I think her statement is dead on. You know, I think her statement
Actually,
is
I
dead
mean, I cleaned up
And
all these as much as I could.
on.
They all had frames around them.
Mm.
I
So
will say that she learned extremely well on how to set up her booth.
Mhm.
Her booth looks great.
our first year is them mentoring alongside a professional artist, right? So they get to see a bunch of booths up close and
Yeah.
they get to get a lot of feedback from a bunch. I mean, I'm not stupid. I stole Cindy's program from St. Louis because,
Yeah.
it is an amazing emerging artist program. Just giving somebody a half price booth and expecting them to learn how to do this is, it isn't enough, I mean, that, which is what we used to do here. But I think she can learn a lot from your words of wisdom, guys.
Inspired by California terrain, I collage vinyl raised relief map to panel or sculpt topography with clay before oil painting a giant female figure at peace, unified with and personified the
Right.
land.
Oh my God.
Oh,
You thought you had grammar issues before.
It's
She could leave sections of that out and be a
wordy.
stronger statement.
Yeah,
It doesn't need the
yes.
California terrain. It doesn't need the unified peace and personifying.
Land.
But I think it is interesting that there's a collage thing underneath and a painting on top, but it just needs to be that,
Yeah,
not all the
I
rest of it.
like knowing that,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't need to know all the rest. I don't want to know. It's
No.
not a need. I don't want to know.
Yeah, you don't need to know that.
Well, no, I think I think you could simply say vinyl, vinyl collage, or I collage vinyl raised relief maps on panels or sculpted typography. You know what those typography maps are, right? That's
yeah,
what those are, you know, um, with clay before oil painting, before adding oil painting. But the giant female figure at peace, unified with and personifying the land needs to go.
Yeah.
yeah.
Also inspired by California terrain.
Needs to go.
Yeah.
Needs to go.
For all the reasons we mentioned with previous people.
Exactly. You just want to know what it is.
Well, the booth image is fine.
I
It
but
doesn't excite me.
it doesn't excite me. But the one on the left, I feel like needs to be higher. Like I find it distracting, but that's just me. Might just be me.
I think it
Uh,
needs to be rehung some. I mean, that
Yeah.
the strength of that, all the images are the women on the maps.
Mhm.
So I guess the big green one in the middle of the back is too. I don't know. Seems to me the big one on the left would make more sense in the middle of the back.
Mm-hmm.
I just like it to be, either everything hung at the same height or the same baseline at the bottom, but it just kind of feels a little hodgepodgey.
Right. Right. It needs to get balanced up here, like the small ones made into on the right, made into a grouping in a row or something,
Yeah.
so that there's some balance to it. And I would like the one in the middle of the back to tie better to the images.
Hmm. Yeah.
yes.
But I think the images are strong.
Images are great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The images are great.
Okay. Mark making techniques under layers of oil and cold wax applied with silicone scrapers, palette knives, and brayers. Texture and solvent techniques etched through the layers to create depth and reveal history and process.
It says exactly what it is.
Yeah. There's a second presentation with the same statement, different booth picture too.
See how everything is lined up on the top? That's kind of
Mhm.
what I was talking about on
Right.
the other one. I'm pointing at my screen like you can see me, but
We can.
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's nice and clean. Like,
It doesn't make you feel jumbled when you look at
it
it.
doesn't. It
And
Right.
jumbled is distracting too, so.
Mhm.
The images just work really well together.
Yeah,
They
Mhm.
really do. They really do.
Nice and cohesive, very pretty. Very well done.
Okay, and here's her second presentation. I'm saying her, I don't know.
Totally different feeling.
Different booth.
Different feeling. You're talking about the images.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. Hmm. Can we go back to the first? Interesting. I would never have guessed that the same person did this one and the next one.
But having said that, Bonnie, I don't know I know the second booth is different than the first one, but
It doesn't
I
go
still
with
don't
the
feel like it
images.
goes with the images. I guess it
I
does.
agree. It doesn't.
So I was trying to see if the two sides are the same. They are. Well, they're real similar though.
Well, yeah, but it's it looks like two separate bodies of work, right? And the
Yes.
booth looks more like the first body of work,
Mhm.
you know, which, sometimes doesn't bother me as a director. Like if somebody says, look, I've got a new body of work, but I haven't had a chance to put it in a
Mhm.
new booth shot, I would be okay with that. Like, it wouldn't cause me to think that they're not going to bring their own work, or it wouldn't cause me to worry, but I'd have to know why, you know
I
why
would
mine
too,
is different,
in this case.
right?
I
Does
would
that
do two applications.
Oh
You
yeah,
would?
you would, yeah, but I
What did
think
you say, Bonnie?
Oh, I said I would do two applications.
That's probably what they do.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the booth images need to be different for each
Mhm.
Not just the back wall.
grouping.
Right,
Right.
right. And I think that would throw me off if I was a juror
Mhm.
didn't I just see this booth? That's what's throwing me off now. Didn't I see this booth sorta?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the images are so different that I'm like, wait, I'm having to think too much about this and ask you to go back and
But
forth.
actually, I think this image all the way on the right is on the right wall here. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's two separate bodies of work, and one, we're just trying to figure out which set of images is going to be more resounding with the jurors, maybe. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
I think that's probably a tough call because boy, both of the sets of images could be,
They're both so strong.
they're both so strong.
Yeah. Well, with any luck, they both get in and they can show both.
Then they can go deal with the show's rules, right? Whatever that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Very nice.
Impressionistic oil paintings. I first tone the canvas with a bright color. Paint is applied with caulking guns, palette knives, combs, and razors to create staccato marks.
I don't think you need to say impressionistic oil paintings, and you do need to proofread.
Yes. It always surprises me how many typos there are.
Yeah, first, FRST.
And
Yeah.
caulking.
Oh, yep.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe that put her under 100 characters.
I don't care.
I
You
know,
could
I know.
they
Leave,
could remove impressionistic oil painting and be under 100 characters,
or
Right.
leave out
Yes.
the last period.
Yeah.
There's ways to do it.
Paint applied, I mean, there are ways to cut without cutting.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now there's two presentations here again.
Okay.
I would say
Let
on
me
this,
finish. Go on, Sharon.
I would say on this one, if there's a way that they can portray their work well and have another vertical or square in here instead of this horizontal.
Mhm.
Maybe
I
it's me.
totally,
I get very distracted when there's a small horizontal thrown with the others. Um,
Yeah, I didn't like that
there's a way to
either.
do a square or a third vertical. And in the booth shot, I think that they could get rid of I assume this is the easel here in the middle. Um, as opposed to just
Yeah,
walls up.
Yeah.
and whether there's too much on the walls. I mean, then you get into how's it going to look at the show versus what's in the image. But back to Camille's point earlier about less is more and negative space is a good thing. This is
Mhm.
so cramped, particularly the two side walls.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
The-
it kind of depends sometimes, like less is more, or having where more works, and it's different for different people. So we
Mhm,
might say, oh, this is there's too much here, and then somebody else would be it's too little.
mhm,
It's different. It really depends on the work.
right. But this is such big, strong work that to me, it
Yeah, it's too
loses some of
much.
that by being so crowded on the two side walls.
Yeah.
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 And in the
I would
booth,
also the horizontal one here.
Yeah, we
The
don't have it.
colors are so different.
Mhm.
okay, in the
And
other presentation, there's a piece, the square piece might fit,
Ah, so
but
what's that one look like with the others?
This is the second one?
Mm,
yeah, this is the second one. And I think the easel should come out of the booth.
Yeah,
Hang a
definitely.
piece on the wall.
Yeah, I'm not an easel person.
No, and you certainly wouldn't want people walking around an easel, you know.
mhm.
And knocking it over.
Does this square go with the other? This square doesn't like go with the other set though, does it?
Yeah,
You can get away with it, I think, more
no,
than that piece on the right.
Mhm.
And
yes.
I do think the other horizontal could flip in here too,
Mhm.
you
Yeah,
know.
right,
I
right.
think I'd make two sets that way. Make this four horizontals and put this square on the other one, and then see what kind of response you get from a jury.
That's
Because
what I,
this would be strong with the four horizontals in it too.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. Mixed media paintings under using watercolor, acrylic, oil, ink, pastel, or silver point on paper, Yupo, clayboard, aluminum panel, or canvas.
Typos. Number 3 doesn't
Mhm.
fit in.
No, it really doesn't.
No, not at all.
Now there's a second presentation too.
The booth shot is pretty clean though, but I would like to see everything more lined up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh. So this number one could go instead of that number three and the other image.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the same world, same same look. So
And
Mhm.
the
take
booth
that one
shot
and
is,
put it in the other set.
yeah.
And number 2 doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. No.
I would take out the rounded one on the first.
Is there a round one in the first? Oh, yeah.
On the
yeah,
right.
why?
Why?
It's got the same color palette.
Mhm.
Yeah, sort of.
And it's the same concept of imagery.
Yeah.
And the rounded one doesn't bother me, but the third one does,
Hmm.
Yes.
you know.
Yeah. And I think the other presentation, to me, it feels, I don't know, like a random set, sort of. Like,
This is what I had left.
Yeah.
yeah, like these
There's
are,
no cohesion, right?
right, it doesn't have cohesion to it. Whereas the first set, if you change out this rectangle from this one, um, I think it'd make a strong application. I don't think this other one's a strong application.
Now you could move the
I
round
agree.
one into the number 3 spot and put the number 1 piece into
Good.
the number 4 spot in the first.
What?
To me, that breaks up my eyes. I'd rather see all three rectangles together and then around,
Something
either
different.
at the beginning or the end.
Yeah.
Yes. But the booth is nice.
The business, either one of them.
Good use of the mesh panels.
Mm-hmm.
Hey Larry, this might be a little hassle, but because of my laptop, I can only see half of the booth image. So just every time, could you just move it in for a couple seconds?
Yeah. Well, we're almost done anyway.
Oh, wow.
Okay, never mind.
How's that?
Well, then it's smaller. I want to see it. I want to
Oh.
see it bigger. I want to see the whole thing, and I want it bigger.
Whoops, wrong way.
Okay, now move it over.
That's as far as I can move it.
I have a
Good.
suggestion for you for next time. Let's talk before you do this again.
You talking to Larry or?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I create plaster relief wall hangings using joint compound and epoxy clay. I build up, shape, and sand the plaster using various tools. Then I seal it. I might add color or metal leaf.
So now I'm going to be with Camille. Can we get rid of all these eyes?
Well, normally I would make that suggestion, but she applied it 315.
Oh, that's okay. So, but as I think it's nice to know about the plaster relief and the compound.
Yeah.
Probably have a little less in the second sentence about shaping and sanding, but and
Yeah,
maybe it's something with color, but the eyes are a little.
I always tell artists not to use first person because
Yeah.
that is redundant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
It's kind of, as opposed to who? My neighbor? I mean, like
That's right.
my
The
wife.
person I hired.
So I think the images are cohesive, right?
Mm.
Mhm.
Yes.
And they go with the booth,
Mm-hmm.
and the booth is pretty well evenly
Yeah.
evenly
Yeah.
displayed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not a striking booth, but
Mhm.
it certainly wouldn't keep you out of a show.
Right, right.
What
Yes.
it is.
I would put one of the darker ones maybe in the middle in the back.
Hmm.
Middle and the bottom.
Something so that it's not all white. But you've got the two birds facing
Yeah.
in, and they could be facing a pine cone or whatever that is on the right.
I don't know, because I can see the ones across the back as a grouping too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
Yeah. That doesn't, honestly, what bothers me? The color of her panels, but that you can't change.
The wall panels, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, if those are dark panels, everything would pop so beautifully.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
but it looks like it's a gray mesh.
It would
They
just,
don't make the black anymore.
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like it would just pop. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess if you're, this again, like to Barry, like I said to Barry, to my own point to Barry, this isn't our job to tell them how to do it.
That's right.
How to be at art festivals, but
Mhm.
this would pop better on a darker background.
Yes.
But it's nice and clean and neat.
Mhm.
It is.
Yeah.
Looks good.
And it's interesting work.
So Camille, what's your suggestion for next time?
Oh, I was going to suggest that you know how you have each application, maybe you take the booth shot, additionally, and you put a slide right behind the application with just the booth shot. So
Okay.
that way you don't have to keep going in and making it larger, and we could see it large.
And actually, I have a template for that.
You know,
Yeah,
it might just make it easier for you too, so you don't have to go in and enlarge it each time for us, because we do spend a
Right.
lot of time
yeah.
talking about the booth, you know?
And
Yeah.
Camille, would you want to see the booth image first?
No, I think it's good to see the whole application, you know, and then the booth, you know, or
Mhm.
either way, really whatever. But I like seeing the whole application and the statement. But then he always has to zoom into the booth for us. So I'm just trying to
Right.
avoid him having to do that
Yeah, no,
and
I understand
me
that.
being larger, you
Yeah.
know?
What if this page stayed the same, but then
Yeah,
the next one
Right.
was just the booth?
Just the booth,
that's what I'm
larger.
saying. I'm saying
Yeah.
this exactly, and then the next page is a larger booth shot.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have
Got
to
it.
zoom in and
Right.
out.
And that's what I was asking. Do you want to show that first or show that second? You guys like it second, so
Exactly.
that's fine.
Well, no, you have to see the whole presentation
Yeah.
first.
Yeah,
Right.
before we tear apart the booth shots, right?
Well, that leads to the most interpretation in terms of presentation, I think.
Exactly. Exactly. Because we, you
But
know,
we're tearing apart booth shots a whole lot less.
yeah.
I mean, there's been a market change in booth shots. That or this is just coincidental.
Yeah. And
I'd
it's
like
No,
not
to
really
think
that
they
we're
looked at
tearing them apart.
our old ones, our
Yeah.
old advice on
Mhm.
YouTube.
And it's
I'm
not really that we're
seeing,
tearing them apart as much as we are just trying to help people,
Trying to be helpful,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
right? Be better.
yeah.
but
That's what
I can
anybody cares
tell when
about.
I'm jurying
Hmm.
the upgrade in booths has been pretty remarkable. People are paying more attention,
Hmm.
which I'm thrilled for. Anything that helps them get into the show.
Yeah.
All right.
Is that our
That's
last?
it?
This was the last one.
No. Oh, here comes the more questions.
Uh-oh.
All
This
right.
is the bad grammar.
I'm sorry. I
That's
really.
what they wrote. I'm just reading it.
Uh,
Oh,
No, it's
no, it's
all
too
good.
long.
I mean,
there's
this is why I asked for feedback. Thank you.
No, I'm like, run it through a grammar program. You know, I mean, there's like Grammarly, Grammarly is free. You know, I mean, it's super easy to do those things. And it's, you know, I get that it's not everybody's first language. So that is like, I am serious because you just don't want anything to distract the people looking at your, you know, looking at your work, right?
Got it. Thank you.
I
Mhm.
like AI. At first I went, oh no, not AI, not artificial intelligence. But lately I've been actually using it for certain things, and it's actually oh, that's great. I mean, there could be a lot of fraud, but if you're using it constructively, I kind of like it. So
Yeah, running sentences through, you know, Chat GPT or something like
yeah,
that, you're going to get something that's grammatically correct.
yeah.
And, you know,
Or
and you're not
Microsoft
going to
Pilot, which
create
is
art, you know,
on your,
you know.
I would still reading your new suggestion or your new one, taking out as a wilderness the whole Sierra Nevada
Yeah.
and taking out as a wilderness photographer, I actively hike and backpack the mountains of Sierra Nevada.
Whole sentence.
Yeah. Because can I see that again? Because I think like the key was you're actively backpacking and then your photographs are I can't recall it, but they're two separate clauses. Like it's they're two separate sentences. They
Okay.
shouldn't be joined together like that. But AI would fix that, or Grammarly would fix that.
Well, or
You know,
yeah.
I
Camille,
backpack.
Glenn could fix it. You know, you know, it's
he's
we.
got a new version on in the chat.
Oh, I can't see the chat.
But that's so long, and then that adds all this wording about wilderness photographer. I think all Camille's trying to say is that prior one is two sentences.
Right.
It
It's
can't
they're
it can't be
separate
connected by a
thoughts.
comma.
Got it.
Or leave out the Sierra Nevada part and just do I think it said printed on metal canvas and paper or something was
Yeah.
how it was printed.
Yeah.
That's really what I was, Sharon nailed it. That's what I was trying to say. They're two separate sentences. Yeah.
So can I go on to the next comment? Because
Yes.
I think there's misinterpretation here. All we
Yes.
said was, or should have been heard, was it's not our job in this activity to judge the quality of the artwork. It is
Mhm.
absolutely the job of the jury to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not this activity. This
Right.
activity is about presentation.
Yes.
We're not here to judge the artwork. And I
And
think
that,
this person thinks that that applies to juries, and that's
Mhm.
not true. I
and that's
mean,
why
no
emphasis
jury that I know
emphasize
has
that.
ever not judged the artwork. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
right.
what they do,
That is the job of a jury.
Yep.
but not our job. Our job is to help presentations be better.
Any other questions?
Well, there's one up here in this chat too about Camille's comment about ZAP not being helpful for sculptors.
I honestly don't know because sometimes I think that could be more distracting too. I mean, it's just that's a sticky wicket, like I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Zap is just a way of having all of us getting judged. And there's problem everybody has some problems with it. It's just different problems. You
Right,
have to work within what you're getting,
right.
and so everybody's a little different how they have to adjust
Hmm.
their presentation differently based on the system.
Yeah,
Like it was different when you sent slides, when
right.
you sent images.
Right. Yeah, I mean
So,
let me just clarify that. I shouldn't say that Zap isn't helpful for sculptures. I should say that 2D images aren't helpful for sculptures, right? Like it's not just Zap, it was the slides. And
Right.
it's not just sculptures. It could be, lenticular photography. It can be there's a woman who does these amazing um two mixed media 2D flat pieces, but they have layers upon layers upon layers of carved wood within them. And that's really hard to see in her slides too. That's what I mean. I don't mean that Zap is wonderful and I will never go back to slides again. But it's sometimes hard for people that do that kind of work to be seen in a flat. And in that case, like with the guy with the lenticular for my last year's jury, he did submit a little video so you could actually see
Hmm.
that it was changing from fall to winter or whatever it was. And for the jurors that took the time to look at that, I think it helped them.
Yeah. Hey, and the point
Um,
the point of viewing, if you're in 3D, which could be sculpture, could be anything that's three-dimensional, glass, clay, you're viewing a three-dimensional object on a two-dimensional image. And that has its limitations too. That's kind of what I meant
Mhm.
by my comment that everybody has their own
Yeah,
thing they have to work through.
yeah, without a doubt,
Hmm.
without a doubt.
okay, can I, JC, you had a question in the chat.
mhm.
There are some show promoters that will not let you use tables and tablecloths. And some shows have a real bias against them. As long as you can make them neat and tidy, they're fine. Was it a Howard Allen? Oops, you're muted.
I'm mute.
Okay,
It was not.
okay, because
Can we go back and see her images, Larry?
That was the glass, right?
nice
Is it the
glass.
last one?
was near the beginning.
How do I share it?
The
Oh,
flat glass in the metal sculpture in the
no,
middle.
no, it wasn't
No,
that.
it was the really pretty glass that we all liked, I think.
Mhm.
Oh, the verticals and the freestanding pieces?
Yes.
This.
No,
No,
this.
there.
That one.
Yeah, that's flat glass in the middle sculpture on a
And
metal
they
stand,
didn't,
isn't it?
the promoter that was giving you advice didn't like the white.
No, he said there was way too much white
In the tent, the
Well,
tape plus, I mean, the tent or on the images?
in the tent, the booth shot.
but that's the best
No,
possible
no, no. That's a good
thing
thing.
for glass.
Yeah, you want
What
light.
does he expect you to use, or she?
Yeah,
Well,
shoot it at night. I mean, come on. You want to see it.
that's what my comment is all related to because I'm not sure, other than this type of presentation, what alternatives, because pro panels don't work for glass.
No.
No, not at all.
I think this is
This is
beautiful. My
beautiful.
comment prior was that depending on how it's projected, how the images are displayed, there could be a opportunity that it would be better with gradient background because of the glariness of the white. But I think the white is beautiful against this work. So
In this particular case, I think it's fine. I think Sharon, you were talking about the glaring white on the jewelry pieces.
yes, I
Yeah.
was because frequently white can be a glaring thing, particularly if the specific show you're applying for is still using projected jury. That can be a real glare in the room.
I
Mhm.
honestly
It's
don't know.
beautiful with the white.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Okay, well,
Well,
that's good to hear because we have not been rejected by anyone yet, but
Yeah, no.
we've
Just
encountered
we
wait.
read
a
those.
wait list.
Just wait.
Yeah, it's great.
It happens to
Well,
everybody.
Harry.
a friend of
What?
mine did flat glass, and she just had a terrible time lighting it and getting the colors to read true. So yours are gorgeous.
Okay, thank you.
And
Was there some
then
other question up here that we missed?
Janine wanted to talk.
My white glasses.
Would it be
Carol,
what?
unmute yourself.
Oh, Carol, I wouldn't. I don't think I don't like when people Photoshop fake booths because I want to see what the booths are going to actually look like at my
Hmm.
show. I just meant in general, like when you were walking past your booth, and it's not my job to tell you how to sell at a show, right? But if you're walking past a booth and the art blends into the walls, it's harder.
That's right.
That's all I was saying. Like the work itself is really cool, but it doesn't you don't you might miss that if it blends into the walls. It's just in general. That was more
Black,
of a that was not my place to tell you. So I apologize for that. But it
she needs black walls.
Oh, or painted black wall, there's something because I think the work is cool, but it doesn't pop on the gray, but that shouldn't keep you from getting into a show. I mean, the booth shot itself is, it's, you know, yeah.
Anything could keep you from a show,
Right.
Yeah.
depending on the juror and their set of values.
Well, exactly, but it wasn't it wasn't a bad booth shot.
Yeah.
Right. But again, like I really don't like it when somebody doctors their booth shot and they
Yeah.
show up to my show with something that looks completely different.
Yeah, me
So
neither.
I really hate that.
I think
And
it should be a rule that every booth shot should be at a show, the actual setup.
Yep.
And they shouldn't be judged on it as far as in the jury room.
Okay. Janine has been trying to get a question answered.
Go ahead, Janine. Unmute.
Thank you. I don't mean to be a pain at all, but this is something I'm really glad that you guys did the jury in the way that you did. And I apologize if I was misinterpreting your role at this moment. It's just something that, I attend Larry's weekly Zoom meetings pretty frequently. I started to do that this year. And we have all kinds of conversations in our room and talk about all kinds of things, the history of art and from A to Z. So, different things come up in my mind and I think about different things. And so that's probably why I wrote what I wrote about the juries, because I just had a conversation with another show director just, days ago. And we were saying how, jurors, and he's been a juror and an art director and everything, he's like, jurors really shouldn't be judging what they like. Okay.
Correct.
Because
Mhm.
it's not Facebook. It's not Facebook. So what you like and what you don't like shouldn't be what you're judging. And, he goes back to the old days and he's like, yeah, we used to all sit in a room and argue, and try to persuade each other and try to say, actually, this art is better than this art. And let me tell you why. And then somebody says, no, actually, that's not true. And everybody should be torn up inside, like all artists have been across time. Okay, so when I wanted to say, so that's just my first point. But I totally appreciate what you guys are doing in getting us to be able to align our artist statement with our images such that you don't get distracted and you say, okay, this is watercolor. Why not just say watercolor? I mean, seriously, if that's what you want, here's some watercolors. But
Yep.
like Camille said, with a photographer, it's really tough. Okay,
Right.
what are your materials and what is your technique? Okay, so I was trying to figure that out. I've been trying to figure that out for myself. How for years, since 2013, since I've been doing art fairs, what is my material? All the other photographers say you can't say I shoot a Nikon D850 professional lenses and yada, yada, yada on what kind of paper with what kind of frames. They don't want to hear that. That's your materials and technique if you want to know it, but it's an image, it's pixels, okay? And you know what your material is? Light. You know what your technique is? Click. Okay, so that's why I said what I said in my artist statement is to describe actually how I am getting you the image, how you are seeing what you are seeing. And you know what it is? It's composition. It's my eye seeing the world in a certain way such that I go from above or below or the side or in what kind of light. I wait for that to happen in exactly the way I want that to happen, and then I go click.
We'll say
And
that.
then I say,
Say that.
well, you got two
Yeah.
words to say that. And then I say to you, I take this image that I have created through my eye and I show it to you and I say, look at this. This is actually the world, which is what photography was meant to do, was to document reality. No AI, no super saturation, no HDR. You just traditionally with photography, you document reality. And that's what the impressionists tried to get around because they're like, photography can do it way better than us with figurative painting. Oh my God, what are we going to do? And then you have cubism and then you have abstract expressionism where they're trying to make line, shape, color, texture, hue, rhythm the subject of their work. No longer was it from the Greeks, the artistic principles that shape your vision, they made it the subject. Abstract expressionists. Look at Barnett Newman. Look at Agnes Martin. Look at Mark Rothko, the subject. Now I give you 4 images, photographs that are pretty abstract as photography is probably going to get, while remaining in having the integrity to remain focused on reflecting reality, not changing it. So I gave you an iceberg, 2 images of dunes from Death Valley, and branches of a willow tree. Okay, they're overtly abstract for photography. And so you know, again, what's my material? Light. What's my technique? Click. The next 4 images I give you was an experiment on my part, a total experiment. And I told Larry this. I've got 2 penguins. I've got pear, I've got Asian pears, which are designed to make a sweet soup in a line. I've got the Teton Pass in fog, which is my image of the Grand Tetons. And I've got, I forget what the last one, Antarctica, a sunset view of an Antarctic landscape. All of the subject matter is different. Okay, I'm not going to look like a painter who's doing different colors with a palette knife. My instrument is a camera. And if I am reflecting reality, my subject matter, by definition, is going to be different. But it shouldn't matter what the subject of the world is. My vision that I am bringing to the world and saying, here, 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 all over the world and in my backyard, is my technique, is my vision, is my artist statement. But nobody's going to understand that because nobody's going to look at the penguins and the Asian pears and the forest and say, the same technique is at work here, making obvious line, texture, shape, form, color, everything. And actually, that's my goal as an artist, is to do that through photography. But nobody's going to recognize it.
Okay, there are 2 issues. One, you can't tell the jurors what to think.
I'm not trying to.
No, well, let me finish. And the other is you need to simplify your artist statement a lot.
Yeah. Well, I did with you.
And your technique, materials and technique is your camera and your vision.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, this is the thing. That's anybody's who's a photographer. That's anybody's thing, you know. I mean, but you helped me, Larry, totally when you said I focus on structure. Now, stupidly, I put in a 300 character statement with you guys today rather than a 100 character statement. I'll go back to my 100 character statement. And when people ask for a 1,000 character statement, I'll put in a 100 character statement. And then nobody will be confused and have to read words. So I'll just do that. You know, I can't say palette knife, but I can say D850, but they don't want to hear D850, just they don't want to hear number 7 point fine point black stylo. Okay.
No, being an artist who applies to shows, everything you said, everybody goes through that. So you're not alone. Everybody has that same problem. Every artist.
Yeah.
So and it goes back to what I said. This is not about that. It's about
Presentation.
presentation and if you want to get in, you gotta have to play the ball game the way it's played.
Well, that's where it's all about.
I mean, my stuff isn't understood,
But you use clay. I use light.
What's the difference?
Well, then
what are you talking
light.
about?
Then I'll say my mirror.
No, you're wrong. Light affects what I do.
Very much so.
Yeah, I mean,
Unless
there's
I'm
a
blind.
way
I mean,
to
come
say.
on.
Yeah,
But
there's a way to
photography,
say.
In
the word for
fact, let me tell you
photography,
something.
the word
It
for
isn't just
photography-
light. Hold on. It isn't just light. It's texture. You know, you can't feel the texture in a 2D image. So don't get all upset about this. This is the way it is.
Barry, the word photography in Greek means drawing
Who
or
cares?
writing with light.
Who cares?
Photography.
Who cares?
It matters when
Doesn't
that
relate.
is your medium, not.
Doesn't relate.
So can I,
Doesn't have anything to do with art shows.
No, it doesn't relate.
That's true. That's true.
I
If you have a problem with this, then just do photography exhibits.
Barry,
go ahead, Camille, I'll wait.
Why?
My feeling.
going to say tensions are high, and I understand Janine's frustration. I see that, I see that. our role here is to try to help you, you know, is try to help you. We
And I
can't,
appreciate that.
Trust me, I have the same frustrations.
but Sharon, nah.
I was going to say, I think in a lot less words than you used, Janine, but I think for me anyway, it would be extremely refreshing for a photographer to talk about light and waiting for the image to talk, because that is your technique. And it's harder I totally get it's harder for artists, I'm sorry, for photographers to say it the way a painter does, right? It's not the same. But I would find it very refreshing to read a statement condensed down from what you said about light, waiting for the image, the clip, the reality thing, the point about the capturing reality. I think that would be enormously refreshing. And if I saw that, I'm not a juror, right, in the real world, but if I saw that come across on images that are applying to our show, I would make note of that.
Thank you.
I think that'd be very refreshing. I'm
Thank
not
you very
saying that would
much.
get you in or not, but I think that that would be really refreshing versus telling me where you were when you took this image and I don't know that you had to the songy stuff, right? But the light and the waiting and the reality, I would find that to be a strong statement.
Thank
Because
you
that
very much.
is a huge part. Like I'm constantly defending photography because people are like,
Mhm.
"Hey, by the camera." I'm like, no, you don't understand, you
Right.
know? And so, I mean, we get it. And we get it. And I would suggest that, spew that out, like just like you did for us. Type it out and then pop it into Chat GPT and say, condense this down to 300 characters and see
Right.
what it says. I'm not a fan of AI. I hate AI when it comes to art, but for writing, sometimes it can't
Yes,
work because
I would agree with that one.
yeah, I see what you're saying and I hear it, and it just didn't come across in your artist statement.
Yeah,
And
because
And I think
thank you, because it seems impossible to write one. It seems impossible to write one, but
so try
thank you.
seriously,
right out.
GPT is free. Try it. See what happens. The worst that can happen is nothing. You'll say Camille was crazy. But the best that can happen is maybe you'll get a statement that you go, oh, bingo, or you just have to massage it a little bit, because there's nothing wrong with the work. And we get what you're trying to say, but what you're saying is not what came across in that artist
Oh, I
statement.
know.
So
And
And I think that and making statements like what you just did in this spiel helps jurors, forces them, I don't know what word to use, helps us continue to make the distinction between there are photographers who apply and there are picture takers who apply,
Oh, for sure.
right?
Oh, for sure.
Or
Difference
snapshot
between
people
a
or whatever you want to
snapshot
call
and a
them.
photograph.
that's
And they're
definitely
not
a
the
problem.
same. If you were
No.
sitting in a jury and watching the photography go by, you can tell that. You can tell when the photographers come up versus what I call picture takers.
The
I'm a picture
vacation.
taker. I am by no means a photographer, right? It's like,
Well,
I
there's a
I
reason why the photography field is so large. It's because, cell
right.
phones, everybody just got a cell phone and then, oh, I'll get a DSLR, fine, and then you become a
oh,
photographer.
Right.
Janine, you should
To
have
just
looked at
make that difference.
applications immediately following COVID because
What's that?
everybody
What's
was a
that?
painter. You should
Yeah.
have looked at applications immediately following COVID because everyone was a painter and everyone was a jewelry maker. Everyone took up a craft during COVID.
And there's distinctly different than the artists who
Exactly.
were.
yeah.
Exactly. So it's not just photographers, but but what you said is dead on and work with the statement, and work with it. I'm sure Larry's always available. You can always email me. I'll try to help in any way I can, but
Thank
it's
you.
not that there's anything, it just, you're very passionate about what you do and rightly so. I would expect that from an artist.
Yeah, it's my life. Yeah.
And
So it
Tessa,
matters. So it's hard when you're
Camille
like
said,
trying to compartmentally yourself, and like get yourself communicate who you are and what you are and like 100 characters. It's a little rough.
I can imagine.
and I imagine there's other people. I know Camille said about she would read them. We will read for people and just comment about the way it came across to us, which may or may not matter. I mean, you know, but we'll comment about how it came across. So,
No, it's greatly
No.
appreciated that you give your time and attention to us. We greatly appreciate it.
Not why we do it, but
Well, regardless, it's
thank you.
welcome. Yeah. You're helping us.
And by the way, I'm not upset at all. I'm passionate and I like these discussions.
Oh, that I know.
We know.
Yeah, but you like to be the one on top.
Not, no, not necessarily. I
And
don't mind being wrong or you know, I just have my own opinion. Everybody has their own opinion, and I hope it's based on some sort of knowledge of our fields.
Hmm.
okay, next time, bigger booth pictures.
Yeah. I think it would just help everybody,
Yeah.
including you know, to not have to go in and Zoom every time.
All right,
Excellent.
I guess that's it. I want to thank Bonnie, Sharon, Camille, and Barry, and
You're welcome.
everybody else who applied.
Well, thank you very much again. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
All
Hey,
right,
anybody want to go out and get some Thai food?
I got to go to see Rick Wakeman tonight.
I wouldn't mind talking to Bonnie and whoops, Camille left. Oh no, there she is. She just moved on my screen.
Oh,
Everybody moved on mine.
Yeah, I have to close up because I
Oh,
have to
all right.
go
I'll
to a
catch them
concert.
elsewhere.
Yeah, but we can, Bonnie and Sharon, if we can, I can send you an email tomorrow. We can chat.
Sure. And we can send a time. I have a question to ask.
okay.
Or you can call me anytime. I mean, yeah. I've got to be someplace at 6. So
Yeah, no, me too. I'm gonna go see Les Mis tonight, so I gotta go to dinner.
Oh,
All right.
Oh.
it's nice.
All right. Bye,
All right.
everybody.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.